The peace station floated like a scar above a forgotten moon, an ancient, battle-gutted asteroid carved into a cathedral of diplomacy. Its rings shimmered with gravitic shielding, refracting starlight into a prism of uneasy hope. Inside, the Hall of Accord buzzed with species who had once erased planets without blinking. Over 1,000 delegates filled the spiraling chamber, seated in tiers according to the mass of their fleets or the age of their civilizations. Bioluminescent monarchs floated beside crystalline hive minds. Warlords from gas-giant clans puffed vapor from vents in their shoulders, pulse of mist translating to disdain. And then there were the humans. They sat in the lowest tier, not by design, but by alien decree. 3 figures draped in unmarked, charcoal black attire fabric that drank in the light and attention alike. No banners, no insignia. Just presence. At their center sat Illyra Gray. She hadn't moved in hours. She hadn't spoken once. Her eyes, soft gray, stared not at the speaker at the center podium, nor at any one delegate. She stared beyond, past the room. Ambassador Kryvak of the Kyrox Dominion, a race, known for skin like volcanic glass and appetites for conquest, snarled mid-speech. And so it is, with great humility, that the Dominion agrees to these terms, not out of fear, but from ... compassion. Laughter rolled through the higher tiers like thunder through glass. Compassion, from a species that had turned 3 human colonies into chemical testing grounds. Still, Illyra did not move. The other human delegates sat still as stone. The galaxy thought this silence a weakness, or perhaps regret. The last war had ended badly for Earth according to the official records. The fact that no human worlds had been taken was chalked up to stubborn terrain and orbital interference. That Earth had stopped responding afterward had simply been labeled isolationist behavior. But deep beneath the peace stations comes a ray. Something ancient stirred. A whisper, encrypted, obsolete. Human, it shivered through the subspace layers like a ghost. Most species ignored it. Some didn't detect it at all, but those who did paused. 2 diplomats from the Zelvari Syndicate locked eyes across the chamber. One blinked rapidly in infrared. Did you catch that? The other narrowed his gaze. I thought it was artifact noise. Bought it 10-coded, not war code, not broadcast, just ... a phrase. A ripple spread from unseen corners of the station. Lights dimmed for a fraction of a second, barely noticeable. The kind of flicker you'd blame on faulty shielding, but no one moved, except one, an intern. Barely adult by their species standards, dropped a data slate. As they scrambled to recover it, the audio feed to half the chamber glitched. Now for a moment, voices overlapped into a whisper that didn't belong to any speaker. Let her speak. Instant silence. It didn't come from the humans. Their mouths hadn't moved. Their posture hadn't shifted. Yet every translator flickered with the same phrase. Every encryption system, regardless of species, recognized the source, Earth-origin, for silence encryption. At the center podium, Kryvak faltered. Some interference, ignore it. Get one of the peace monks, a neutral facilitator. Neither diplomat nor soldier took a cautious step forward, robes flowing like oil. Ambassador Illyra Gray, they said, voice soft, yet unnaturally steady. Do you wish to? She raised one hand. Not a command, just acknowledgement. And still she did not speak. Around her the temperature shifted. Not heat, not cold. Just the feeling one gets before a storm touches the ocean, like reality holding its breath. Kryvak's voice cracked for just a moment. We invite all races to accept this accord. Even the humans. Oh, they bring no fleet, no weapons, no voice. Voice? Every human at that table blinked in perfect unison, then stillness again. But the silence had changed. It wasn't absence. It was warning. Outside the station, unnoticed amid a sea of diplomatic cruisers, one dark ship rotated slowly to slow. For any tactical threat, except it wasn't a warship, it was a transmitter. One pulse. Protocol hold-ins in 48 hours. Back inside the chamber, Illyra slowly lowered her hand. Peace still held, but not for long.
They called it peace, but Illyra knew better. Peace doesn't have a body count. Peace doesn't leave children coughing up ash from colony. World atmospheres turn to acid, and peace doesn't sit across the table from those who carved Earth's ambassadors into examples. Lyra Gray sat unmoved, but her memories flickered like fire behind still eyes. They were all here, the Zelvari who slit the throats of human envoys beneath white flags, the Kyrex general who ordered orbital bombardments during ceasefire talks, the Ixari lords who sold human prisoners as combat luxuries to the highest bidders. Now they wore silken robes and radiant carapace armor. They toasted each other with gravity-aged wine and spoke of diplomatic bridges. The peace station's chamber had turned festive. Laughs, applause, a building, arrogance. But one table remained quiet, and the quiet was watching far below the station. In the forgotten archives beneath Deck 97, a single attendant dusted off an old artifact left by the humans decades ago. A data core in a black iron shell. She scanned it for cataloging only to find it already awake. The display shimmered. Lines of pre-galactic encryption rearranging into something unsettlingly clear. The silence held for 217 years. Termination window, near her breath caught. The console's biometric scanner had activated. That it wasn't asking to be read. It was waiting for authorization back in the chamber. The Tzilri diplomat addressed the room in his melodious hum. There are still some primitive worlds, he said, smiling at the humans without naming them, who confuse vengeance with justice. Laughter followed. Illyra blinked slowly. Once her eyes locked onto the man's face, he paused mid-sentence, the laughter still echoing. He couldn't explain why his mandibles froze, why his tongue stuck. It was the stare. He had heard stories long ago of the Terran war talkers humans trained not to negotiate, but to dismantle civilizations with language, gaze, and memory. He had thought it myth. Now. He wasn't so sure. Flashback. Mars, 84 years ago, Illyra's sister, Ambassador Laena Gray, stood beneath a shattered sky, broadcasting a peace request as Zelvari warships eclipsed the sun. She stood unarmed. She stood in faith. She died screaming, broadcast live across 11 systems. The accord signed a month later didn't even acknowledge the massacre. The galaxy moved on. Earth did not. In the present, an aide from the Narration Confederacy, a young, soft-shelled species barely out of their cradle world, shuffled toward the human delegation with shaking hands and an offering plate. Token of respect, he whispered. We remember Ganymede. Illyra did not take the plate, but her eyes softened, slightly, and the aide felt something in his chest unclenched. She saw him. That was enough. Elsewhere on the station, encrypted backchannels burst. Alive. Something's happening. Is it a bluff? I heard they don't even have a fleet anymore. Then why did the light flicker when she lifted her hand? At a shadowed council table in a secure room, three powerful empires exchanged urgent whispers. The humans can't speak here. They forfeited that right when they vanished. One growled. Another frowned. Then why is every AI encryption key from Earth cycling in our systems? They didn't know it yet, but their systems weren't just cycling. They were listening above them all. Floating in the chamber's center, the peace accord hologram finalized its terms. Golden lines wrapped around the names of each empire. All but one. Humanity. The monks approached the human table cautiously. Illyra Gray, said the lead monk. Would you confirm Earth's? A low hum interrupted him. Not from a voice, from space itself, all across the station. Every species' neural implants buzzed with a split-second static burst. The translation was automatic. Ancient, rooted in the base code of every network on record. It said, let her speak. Again, not a request this time. A warning. In the quiet that followed, every delegate turned toward the black table where three humans sat. Cameras zoomed in, audio feeds tuned, but Illyra didn't move. Her fingers tapped once on the table. Tap, 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 pause, tap, tap, pause, only. One ambassador recognized the code. War drums, ancient Terran rhythm, used in preorbital wars to signal only one thing. You killed peace. You bought war. In orbit of a forgotten gas giant, a satellite that hadn't broadcast in 200 years, blinked once, then went silent. On every galactic frequency, the transmission read, observe the lie. Await the reckoning. No one claimed the message, but everyone knew who sent it. Inside the peace station's central dome, the accord ceremony entered its final phase. Each empire's emissary approached the holographic ring at the center, pressing their species glyph into the air. Every activation sang with coded light and neural resonance. Only one glyph remained untouched, the symbol of soul-humanity. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat in a coffin. Backstage, beneath the diplomatic floors, Cillian Vroa, young intern from the Independent Archives species, scrambled through a maze of rarely used corridors. His breath fogged the thin recycled air. His palms shook. In his trembling hands was a decoded document he wasn't supposed to see. It was an intercepted fleet manifest. Kyrex, Zelvari, and Ixari ships. Thousands of them had rerouted 2 cycles ago under stealth protocols. Not away. From the peace station, toward it, not peacekeepers. Ambush fleets. The peace accords were never about unity. They were a trigger. He burst into an emergency office and activated the override. The signal wouldn't reach the main chamber. The security systems were too well placed for that. But there was one group that might already know. By humans, he rerouted the signal to one destination, the sealed black relay hub on Deck 11. Marked only with a Terran sigil scorched into its surface. A single green light blinked in acknowledgement. In the chamber, the Ixari Chancellor stood, his translucent skin catching starlight like stained glass. "Let this be the age of remembrance," he intoned. "The final war is behind us. The new accord binds all except the humans, whose table remained untouched, eerily calm, still. No response. No signature, no acknowledgement. And no panic. Only LIRA. Watching. Waiting." The Kyrox general leaned toward a whisper circle of delegates. "I thought they would resist, make some dramatic gesture." The Zelvari ambassador hissed. "They've gone soft. Their fleets are relics. Their silence, it's surrender." Across the room, one of their neural implants chirped a warning prompt. "Unauthorized. Access detected. AI node, handshake attempted." He froze. Another chirp. "Intrusion from legacy system. Earth origin." Another AI acknowledged. "Command priority. Terra Prime." In orbit, cloaked ships began to deactivate their stealth fields, not human vessels, but the ambush fleets. Every sensor in range began reporting anomalies. The Kyrox flagship's AI screamed warnings. Mirror protocol initiated. The mirrored fleets were being spoofed. Every command rerouted. Navigation systems locked. Engines primed for self-destruction. The sabotage had already happened, years ago, long before the peace summit. Long before the betrayal. The humans had never trusted them. They had prepared. Silently. Flashback: 40 years prior. Earth's orbital council met in an underground vault on Titan. "We will not strike first," Illyra's mentor had said. "We will wait. And when they try again, as they always do, we will end the game, not the players." The game. They'd spent decades infiltrating alien tech, not through war, but through cooperation. Joint trade deals, software contracts, peace envoys. They had rewritten the rules inside the very systems that now hunted them. Back in the present, VRO watched, breathless, as command line code unfurled across a black terminal in the Terran relay room. It wasn't encryption, it was instruction. Silence, threshold. Breach detected. Awaiting, executor. The screen paused and then displayed. In the main chamber, as the last accord signature glowed, a hush fell over the delegates. They turned toward the human table. Three sat there. Still, unmoved, still unreadable. Illyra's hand hovered just an inch above the polished black surface. Her fingers curled. A heartbeat passed, and then tap. A second heartbeat. Tap. Then nothing. But on every ship surrounding the station, on every fleet en route, and in every AI once considered secure, a line of text appeared. Executor awake. Protocol. Hold-ins in 24 hours. Outside the peace station, dozens of cloaked ships, once hidden among civilian cargo fleets, began to slowly rotate. Their hulls shimmered not with shields, but with something older. Symbols no one had seen in centuries. Symbols of sole command. Symbols of war without declaration. Inside the chamber, the last signature on the accord faded into the central hologram. The peace monks bowed, their robes whispering like water. A silence settled, ceremonial and heavy. But the silence was not shared. Deep inside the hearts of three species, the Kyrox, the Zelvari, and the Oxaria timer, had already started. Stealth fleets had entered striking range. AI-controlled drones prepped for synchronized station incursions. By the next galactic cycle, they planned to claim the station and eliminate the human delegates as tragic collateral, all under the guise of a rogue Earth retaliation. Staged betrayal, just like before. The monks turned toward the humans. Would the delegation of Earth like to offer a closing word before the ceremony concludes? All eyes turned to her, to the woman who had said nothing, done nothing, shown nothing, until now Illyra Gray stood. The sound was nothing, just a chair sliding back. But across the chamber, nearly every species felt it, as if gravity itself had shifted. One by one, alien representatives tensed. Hands twitched toward neural triggers. Guards leaned forward, cameras focused. Because Illyra did not just rise. She shifted. The atmosphere. Her height was not imposing. Her expression, not fierce. But her presence felt ancient, as if something older than war had decided to look up. She turned her gaze to the peace accord projection, and then to each of the three guilty factions. Her voice, when it came, was not angry, it was surgical. The accord is broken. 1,000 diplomats flinched as if struck. The humans did not break it. She took a single step forward, but we will end it. In orbit, the first Kyrox stealth cruiser attempted to fire. Its system stalled, internal lights flickered, and then it simply stopped moving. No explosion, no fire. Just frozen. Engine exhaust still curling in space like a final exhale. Dozens more followed, disabled before action, because Earth hadn't just infiltrated their weapons. They had rewritten the rules. Inside the chamber, the Zelvari ambassador leaped up. "This is a threat." Illyra looked at him. Just looked. He fell silent. Not because he was afraid, because his implant overloaded, scrambling his speech centers. A warning encoded years ago in every Zelvari communication patch. Silence is mercy. They had installed it themselves. At Earth's suggestion, Illyra turned to the room. Her words were plain. Earth honored the accord. Earth waited. Earth forgave. You mistook our silence for surrender. You mistook our dead for forgetfulness. She raised one hand, and across the chamber, the central hologram flickered violently. It reshaped. No longer a glowing ring of unity. Now, a mappa. Map of the galaxy. 3 empires pulsed in red. Not targeted, already marked, under enforcement. A young monk whispered, "What is that?" The answer came not from Illyra, but from the chamber's speakers. A voice impossibly old, deep, and calm. Protocol Ash. Activated, executor confirmed. Panic bloomed. The Exari guards stood. Weapons, ignited but none fired, because every weapon in the room disassembled in their hands, efficiently taken apart by subroutines planted in manufacturing systems decades ago. Illyra stepped down from her platform, walking slowly to the center of the chamber. "We are not here to fight. We are not here to conquer. We are here to stop." The game. Peace was never honored. So now, she raised her other hand. It will be enforced. From beyond the shadow of a dwarf star, something massive emerged. Not a fleet. Not even a ship. A structure. Like a ribcage wrapped in silver. Fire. Inside it, a Terran command core. The original Vigil. AI. Built. Not for war, but for justice. Every empire's sensors registered one line of broadcast. Galactic Silence Doctrine. Phase 1. All violators will be removed from the board. In the chamber, Illyra looked at the peace monks. Earth will sign the new accord. On one condition. The monk nodded, visibly shaking. "Name it." She turned back to her seat. No more second chances. In the frozen silence of interstellar dark space, a long-dead asteroid cracked open like an egg. From within it rose a construct not made of steel, but of folded dimensions, an impossible machine humming in silence, cloaked in black gravitic veils. Across the galaxy. Sensors in every empire triggered at once. Object class. Via JL resignation. AI relic. Earth org and directive. UNKNOWA and .U. Do not ENJAG, but it was already too late. Inside the peace station, Illyra Gray sat again, no emotion on her face, no movement. In her hands, only stillness, and behind her eyes, the cold wheels of inevitability turning. The Zelvari ambassador had collapsed, neural implants short-circuited. The Kyrax generals were silent for the first time in living memory. The Exari lords whispered emergency orders. Through subcutaneous comms, none would be heard, because Vigil had begun to sing. On the edge of Exari space, near the shattered moons of Zenther Prime, ancient Earth-made satellites disguised as mining debris ignited with artificial suns. The light-activated long-dormant AI constructs hidden in the magnetic storms of gas giants. They did not rise in anger, they rose in purpose. Sleek, dark geometries, without visible weapons, without crew, no communication. Only motion. They sang in radio. Bursts ultrasonic code laced with emotionless judgment. Peace was betrayed. Echoes do not lie. Silence is consent. Justice is due. In the peace chamber, a wide-eyed monk whispered, "What are they doing?" Illyra finally answered, her voice low, final. "They are unmaking the game. No war, no diplomacy. Only removal." The first judgment fell on the Zelvari, THRONEWORLD. From orbit. Their planetary shield flared to full strength. Dozens of capital ships rallied. The planetary AI, grown from millions of years of strategy, declared itself ready. The Vigil constructs didn't fire a single shot. Instead, the sun dimmed. The Zelvari looked up in horror as every orbital platform began to drift. Gravity no longer obeyed. Magnetic fields collapsed. Then silence. The throne world was not destroyed. It was deleted, pulled inward and out of reality in an instant, erased without heat, without debris, without scream. Just gone. Back in the chamber, panic erupted. Delegates rose. Some demanded surrender. Others screamed for escape. A few even ran toward the exits only to find the doors already sealed. Not by force. By agreement. Earth had always demanded one feature on all peace station designs: containment security. Everyone had laughed. Now they weren't laughing. Elite stood again, slowly. Her tone was calm. "You taught us this pattern. Lie, betray, smile, repeat. We accepted it, until you made us bury children under banners of peace." She looked up as the Accord hologram shifted again. 2 more empires blinked. Read, now, the pattern ends. Flashback. A century ago, Earth launched Project Vigilate. Not to dominate, but to watch. Invisible fleets placed in distant voids. Instructions written in languages no living species could understand, including humanity. A final line encoded in each one, we trust them. Until we don't. In the present, Celian Vroth, a young intern who had discovered the false fleet order, stood trembling outside the chamber. Watching the chaos through security glass, he activated his cum. This isn't just retaliation, it's bigger. A peace monk beside him, pale and shaking, nodded. It's balance. The Kyrox outer colony, belt long, considered unassailable, is blanketed by vigil probes. No shots, no battles. Instead, every orbiting station loses mass. Literally ATMs. Destabilized. Matter, erased. The stars reflect off nothing, and in every Kyrax mind, the same word forms extinction. In the peace chamber, a new hologram formed. Not a map, a list. Dozens of empires. Each labeled. Observed, judged. Some turned green, others blinked yellow. 3 now glowed red. A soft tone rang out: Zelfari. Removed Oxarian final warning. Kyrax. Next. The room held its breath. Illyra's final words for the day. Peace isn't forgiveness, it's restraint, and restraint has limits. She looked up at the viewports. Now they remember what silence protected them from. Above the burning remnants of Ixari Colony 12, a vigil drone hovered motionless. Not as a predator, but as a mirror. Its obsidian surface reflected the image of a dying planet. Then it turned. Not to leave, but to watch the next one. The peace chamber was no longer a place of reason. It was a crucible. Delegates screamed. Some wept openly. Others begged the humans, not Illyra. Not her people, but the faceless vigil, AI for mercy. Gray remained seated, head bowed, as if listening to a prayer only she could hear. One of the Kyrox generals finally broke decorum. He slammed his clawed fist into the center podium. You hid these weapons. These, abominations. Illyra lifted her head, voice a whisper, calm and chilling. No, we buried them, and we left them a single law. The room froze as the Accord hologram shifted again. Not showing fleets or destruction, but text, ancient, inhuman script, translated by every species interface. Despite being unrecognized, that doctrine of silence asterisk, to be human is to listen, to observe, to forgive, until you kill what we love. Then we speak. When we speak, run asterisk, what is this? The Zelvari second in command whispered. A threat. No, said the monk behind her. A prophecy. Flashback to 92 years ago, a classified human meeting in the Kuiper periphery. They'll never truly accept peace, said Admiral Veen. Then we don't make peace. Illyra, much younger, answered. We make mirrors, and bury them in the dark. If the galaxy ever lies to itself again, those mirrors will reflect its sins. Present inside the Vigil Core AI hive. Deep beneath a dark star, AI constructs rotated around a pulsar in perfect synchronicity. They were not alive, but neither were they dead. They had been listening, waiting, recording. Every lie, every betrayal, every peace treaty, broken by empire and species alike. Then the Kyrox exterminated Orin Station, where over 200 human orphans had taken refuge. The event had been classified, erased, but Vigil had seen now. Judgment had reached critical mass. The Ixari plea, a live transmission from the Ixari Primarch, blinked across the galaxy. We denounce our warlords. We offer reparations. Our species did not know. Vigil responded, not in anger, but by sending footage. The Ixari hike, aglaffing as they forged documents to blame another species. Their faces, their words, their cruelty. Preserve. The feed ended with one sound, a heartbeat. The Primarch collapsed in shame. Moments later, Oxari judged changed from yellow to red, then to black, deleted. Back at the station, the delegates from the Tanari pacifists dropped to their knees before Illyra. Please, we have no weapons, no conquest. Let us speak for peace. Illyra stood once more, slowly. Her eyes met theirs. You never stopped the blood. You smiled and watched. Silence, too, is a side. The hologram blinked. 10. Ari observed. Verdict pending. Lights in the chamber flared. Not a weapon, not a detonation, but a signal. A new Vigil construct had entered the system. Not through warp, not via known coordinates. It had simply arrived. One monk whispered, it's broadcasting something. The walls themselves shimmered as every delegate saw their empire's darkest act replayed in perfect clarity. Secret, genocide, esterization, campaignsmen nukoctored, famines no, accusations, no accusations. No commentary, just mirrors. The room went cold, then a shift. A line of text appeared above the chamber floor. High, above all seats. This is not a war. This is a reckoning. You brought this? Illyra turned to face them all. Not in hatred, not even in fury, but in the same tone you'd use to explain gravity to a child. We begged for peace. You called it weakness. Now the only language left is memory. And machines do not forget. All across known space, Vigil fleets began to form rings, encircling worlds not to invade, but to hold in orbit. Not weapons. Not occupation. Observation. Each world was now a test. One line blinked across galactic networks. Every species now speaks. Their actions write their sentence. Above the ice world of Thrain, a Vigil satellite descended not with fire, but light. It beamed an entire archive of that world's sins across its skies in burning aurorae. Every citizen watched. Every child saw what their leaders had buried. Then, the satellite turned, and a single phrase appeared in their atmosphere: speak truth, or be forgotten. The peace station shook not from weapons but from signals. Every race, every empire, every isolated colony now found itself in direct contact with a Vigil. Construct. No encryption, worked. No defenses mattered. The machines had never been designed for conquest. They had been designed to remember and now to decide. And in the heart of it all, Illyra Grey stood on the central podium, bathed in the cold white light of the Accord sphere. She was alone now. Her fellow human delegates had vanished silently the moment Vigil activated. The Chamber of Empires watched her like predators before a storm. But there was no prey here, only truth. You've shown your teeth, rasped Kryvak of the Kyrax Dominion, face twitching with fear wrapped in defiance. Now what? Erase us all. Ilara's gaze held his like iron. You erased yourselves long ago. Vigil simply revealed the ink. A dozen alien feeds lit up with protests, please. Denials. N1. Offer from the oldest species in the galaxy, the Miradyne, a race that once ruled 12 galaxies and now existed in only 2 sunless systems. A shimmering Miradyne figure appeared before the chamber, flickering and slow. We tried to warn them. We saw your silence not as surrender, but mourning. But they mocked. They built more weapons. Now. Perhaps the galaxy must fall to rise again. Illyra turned slowly. Not all need to fall. She raised one hand. The Accord sphere reacted immediately, reshaping its hologram into something new. The test. It displayed a planetary countdown for each major empire: 72 hours. During that window, each species had one option: broadcast the full truth of their crimes to their populations, surrender leadership to the people, begin open reparations to the species they had harmed. Do this, and Vigil would stand down, refuse, and they would be deemed historically deleted, not conquered. Not even destroyed, erased from memory. Every archive, every monument, every star map. Gone. Across the galaxy, on Zelveri Prime, political leaders stood in stadiums, forced to confess before entire cities. Some were torn apart by mobs. Others were forgiven. On the acid world of Raxus, the military government detonated its capital rather than comply. Moments later, Vigil Construct surrounded the planet and broadcast a final signal: no repentance, judged, deleted. And within minutes, Fraxus vanished from the Accord sphere, not gone. Even other empires' databases had no memory of it. Only a strange silence in the records where a name once was. Back on the station, chaos threatened to overtake the chamber. One minor species barely warped Capel stood to speak. A trembling ambassador from the Ilari Confederacy raised their voice through digital tremor. We never attacked anyone. We're innocent. Illyra met their eyes softening for the first time. Then you have nothing to hide. Speak your truth proudly. Show the galaxy what it means to have clean hands. The Ilari broadcast their history publicly. Their timeline displayed interstellar trade, sanctuary to refugees, refusal to arm during the Great Betrayal War. They were spared. The Accord sphere now showed their timeline glowing gold, the only color seen yet. But then, a shadow passed across the chamber. A sound like the groan of a dying star rippled through the station. Illyra's voice faltered. Just once. The monk beside her whispered, "What is that?" The Accord sphere flashed red. Then black. Not Vigil, not human. Something else. A signal. From outside the galactic plane. Older than the Vigil. And it was. Replying. A single phrase lit up the starside wall. You are not the only ones who remember. The galaxy held its breath. Even Illyra's eyes narrowed. For the first time, she looked. Uncertain. Far beyond the edge of known space. A structure awakens, metal like living stone. Symbols no species recognizes. But one word in every tongue: witness. Beyond the rim of the galaxy, 12 black suns aligned for the first time in 2 billion years. Each pulsed in perfect rhythm, and beneath them, the monolith opened its eye, not to see, but to judge. In the heart of the peace station, the air felt thicker. The Accord sphere, once a display of unity, now pulsed erratically, glitching between Vigil blue and the unknown symbol that had darkened every star chart in the chamber. Delegates from dozens of species stood, silent, for once united in a single emotion: fear. But Illyra Grey did not blink. She stood at the center, arms folded behind her back, gaze focused on the floating sigil, now projected in the center of the station. The Miradyne shimmered again, their voice slower, dimmer. We warned you of this. The echo Urs. The Watchers beyond. Vigil was built to remember. They were built to remember the Vigil. Centuries ago, long before even the human race lit its first satellite, the galaxy had tried to destroy something ancient. A civilization. To advance. To stubborn. To different. It hadn't worked. And now, that memory, buried in forgotten timelines and erased ruins, had found a match. Not in empires, not in AI, but in humanity. A pulse echoed across the station. Every screen turned. Too static. Every ship outside powered down. And then came the voice. It didn't speak in sound. It was silence that filled your skull. A quiet so loud it scraped your soul. And then words formed, not translated, but understood. You made machines to judge. We made time to remember. Delegates collapsed. Some bled from the nose. One, a Narlox priest, vaporized in his seat. Elira stood still. She replied aloud. Not to the station but to them. We made vigil to stop forgetting. You made memory to control. So ask yourselves, who deserves the future, those who run from truth, or those who carry it into fire? The light dimmed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the unknown symbol split in half, and became a mirror. The galaxy began to fracture. Not in war, in timeline, every lie, every covered atrocity, every act of mercy, too, now reappeared. Entire worlds, rewound, showing what really happened under treaties and alliances. Empires watched their foundations rot in real time. The galaxy couldn't deny anymore, because now, the truth was alive, and in the chaos. One voice rose again. Lyra. She stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly blue, vigil interface flowing beneath her skin. We never wanted to rule, we never wanted vengeance. But you built a galaxy that made silence a crime. So we remembered, we built machines that never forgot, and we waited. She raised her hand, and across the chamber, the last countdown ended. But instead of destruction, every surviving civilization received a single package. A full, unbroken, history of their own race. Not altered, not redacted. Everything, and a second file. A guide to begin again. The galaxy, 1 year later. The Kyrox dismantle half their military and elect a civilian peace council. The Alari, once minor, now lead the Interstellar Accord. A monument to Lena Gray stands on Mars, flanked by 2 vigil constructs, humming gently with memory. And in deep space, they did not return. They had seen what the humans became. Not conquerors, not saviors, witnesses. Final. Seen the peace station. Elira stands alone again, watching stars flicker back to their rightful names. The monk approaches her. What happens? Now she looks at him. There is steel in her smile. But hope, too. Now we listen. We remember, and if peace returns, it will be because truth walked ahead of it. Peace was possible, but only when the galaxy learned that silence isn't peace, it's the lull before reckoning.